Welcome to another episode of Silence is Golden. I'm Simon Kelly, and we'll be joined live from Troy in Sydney shortly. Today we'll be talking about pop-ups on landing pages as our core topic. We'll also be taking a look at the whitehouse.gov and the switch from Drupal over to WordPress. We'll take a look at maintaining your WordPress site, not just the technical side, but the content as well. And we'll look at a Shopify to WooCommerce conversion. Stay with us. Hello and welcome to Silence is Golden. I'm very excited today. We're doing something a little different. Troy is actually in Sydney doing some levitation and getting zen and doing a bit of planning for the year with his business partner. So yeah, happy to see you here, Troy. This time not directly next to me. It's great, nice and roomy in here. Yeah. How is it?
Hey Simon, how you doing? I'm trusting that you can. Say again.
How is life?
Yep, I'm trusting you can hear me and see me okay. Yes, it's very good, man. It's very good. I'm up here in Sydney at Zara Towers and doing a bit of strategizing and masterminding and thinking and planning for the year with my business partner. And good to be beamed in via the interwebs. And it's a little weird seeing you sit in the studio there running the show, I must say. It's a humbling and strange experience.
No, it's good fun. It's good fun. Even though I said Simon's is golden, which is
I know.
Simon's running the show, I'm just becoming more and more.
Simon's Silence is what the show will be called from now on.
Simon says.
Simon is golden.
All right, cool. We'll jump into the news and we'll cross back over to you shortly, Troy.
Let's do it.
Hang along for the ride. Cool. So, in about mid-December, whitehouse.gov made the switch over from Drupal to WordPress. And I was having a look through some of the Reddit comments. On the Drupal channel, it wasn't particularly positive stuff about moving over to WordPress. There was lots of stuff about WordPress just being a blogging platform. One of the comments was about that now it seems clear that they don't want to do anything with the site. So of course they would use something that anyone's cousin could build. So that was some of the comments there, which I thought was interesting. Looking into it a little bit deeper, just to see like the technology that was used to put it together. They're using Monster Insights, they're using Yoast. I think they're using W3 Total Cache. I actually have a quote here from someone here. It says, "Why have the expense of Drupal when you can just get someone's kid to whip you up a WordPress site?" Thought that was good one. The theme looks totally custom, which is pretty cool. What I thought was a bit interesting is with the layout of the page. They've got the burger style menu, and then they've got the search. I'm seeing that more and more, that an actual menu is kind of off to the side a little bit, really just making way for the really key core links that need to be on the page. So I thought that was interesting. They're also using custom taxonomy for issues. Custom post is their briefings and statements. And they're using something called WPSOLR for Elasticsearch. So there you go. So take a look at that. It's really, really nice looking site, very easy to navigate and looking great, I think. So any thoughts on that, Troy, while you're there on the switch?
I just think it's a big coup for WordPress. I think it's. Do we know who worked on the actual project?
Not me. That would require an extra level of research by someone else.
Yeah. So I just think it's a good. I think it adds a lot of credibility. I mean, we always send people to WordPress.org/showcase when clients are saying, well, and I'm a little bit nervous about, a WordPress site because isn't that just for bloggers? So I always send them over to WordPress.org/showcase. And I think this just adds some more credibility to WordPress as a platform, that if the White House trusts that WordPress can do the job, then there's no reason, why the average small business owner can't be using WordPress. So I think, if anything, I think it just adds another layer of credibility to WordPress as a solution.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so the next bit of news, we've got saw Thomas Griffin from businesses such as Opt-in Monster wrote an article, 5 Steps to Launch a WordPress-Powered E-commerce Business. What's interesting is it's not just about WooCommerce, it's about using the right plugin for the job. What I did think was really interesting is that Thomas Griffin was actually published on Forbes. So I think it's an interesting move by them for their own marketing, which is really why I wanted to bring this up here. The key steps that Thomas discusses is about, it's quite a basic level overview, but the steps are important nonetheless. So decide on a plugin to use, not necessarily WooCommerce. Make a list of the site features that you actually need. So it's a bit of planning before you just dive in, pick a plugin, and then just start building something. Make a list of site features. And if you check back to one of the Silence's Golden episodes, we actually share a website planning template. So go back and have a look at that. We actually share that out for free, so you can download that. It's good for this planning exercise. Next thing you want to do is integrate it into your current website if you have one already. What's great about WordPress is you can actually do that. You don't have to always rewrite your website from the ground up. You can add something like Easy Digital Downloads or WooCommerce and just extend your existing site. Then you want to choose a theme, so choose something that's WooCommerce compatible, obviously. Actually, a recent update of WooCommerce is that it's less reliant on the theme. It's trying to be as much as possible theme agnostic, which is great, so it should work pretty good with any theme. And then the last step is obviously to roll out your store. So that would be marketing, that would be making sure users know how to use it, and getting things set up so everything works. So good little article, pretty short and a good intro to setting up e-commerce with WordPress. The next piece of news is from Bob WP. I like this article. It's about if you maintain the technical side of your WordPress site, maintain your content too. There's a lot of talk about client plans and maintenance plans and looking after the technical side of WordPress, but it is really important what the message is actually displayed on your website. So you have to make sure you're going back into the pages, you're removing any 404s, you're making sure broken links are all taken care of, because if you're just maintaining backups and security and updates, but your site internally is broken, it's not really maintenance at all. So it is more of a rounded picture about maintenance. And this is a spot where I think there's a bit of opportunity here for people that are maintaining sites to offer something that's beyond other WordPress maintenance companies, which is, there's lots of them and it's just going to get more and more. It's quite a big marketplace at the moment. So Bob talks about the importance of and value of keeping the content up to date, the SEO value, customer experience value, as I mentioned before, and how to repurpose content. So it's definitely a great article to check out. As part of maintenance that you do with WP Elevation, is this something that you look into, like revisiting like old articles and pieces of content, Troy?
He's on mute. He's muted himself.
You're on mute.
There we go. Sorry, I just had to get rid of housekeeping before. I forgot to put the do not disturb sign on the door, and they were knocking on the door saying, "Housekeeping, we want to come and change your sheets and fold your towels." And I said, "Go away, I'm on a call." So sorry about that, gang. It's funny you mention that. We're actually going through the process at the moment of kind of looking at all of our old content and re-optimizing it. I just want to touch on a point here. I think there's an opportunity if you are looking after websites for clients from a maintenance point of view, so security, backups, plugins, software updates, all that kind of good stuff. You are actually leaving money on the table and doing your client a disservice if you don't actually go through and look at the content. One of the things that Bob WP talks about is how many times do you come across a website that's got a video on it, you go to click the video and it says this video is no longer available because for a reason the YouTube channel's changed or it's been taken down or the links have been moved. So, or you come across a website that's got short codes on it because someone's removed a plugin and those short codes no longer register that there are things that are broken. There's an opportunity to go back to the client and say, hey, I noticed this video is not playing anymore. Was that part of a campaign? Was that part of a strategy? Can we revisit that? What can we do? And you will actually end up picking up more consulting work just by keeping your eyes on the content on clients' websites. So I think there's an opportunity there to essentially sell more consulting work if you're just keeping an eye on, and it's not just a matter of running a broken link checker robot over the site. You actually need to dig in and have a human being look at the content from time to time.
Yeah, absolutely. Something I've just started introducing to some of my higher level client plans is actually going through their site and recording a 10-minute video and just telling them things that aren't working properly or things that could be improved. And I pair that with some of the goal setting that I've been doing with clients lately, just saying, this isn't going to help you get to your goals, and give some recommendations. And that's helping to pick up extra work as well, and it's giving them value. So it's a win-win. Works great. Cool. So last bit of news we've got is there's a Shopify to WooCommerce case study. The website's output.com. Have a look at the case study on the WooCommerce website. It's an interesting one about some of the challenges they came across. They talk about some of the plugins they were using as well. But what I think is great about this is it's that it's changing from Shopify over to WooCommerce, and WooCommerce is a great e-commerce platform. It is in this competitive space. There are definitely benefits to using it over Shopify. Not saying one is better than the other, but when you want some more customization and there is something very specific you want to do, WooCommerce is a fantastic platform for that. So check out that case study if you want to learn more about the ways that they put that together. Sorry, excuse me. Cool. All right, that wraps up the news. So next up, we're going to come to cut away to a little audio clip that we've got here for Q&A. We don't have anything yet, but it's coming soon. When it comes in, it's going to be awesome. But until then, you just get a little bit of silence. So today's core topic is about pop-ups on landing pages. Now, if you didn't check out last week's episode on landing pages, this follows on from that one. So we've got a couple of questions here. I'm actually going to direct these at you, Troy, but feel free to just bounce them straight back to me if you like.
Sure.
Cool. So Louise says, currently, if I want people to sign up to a specific page to be put on a specific automation sequence, as in like multiple opt-ins on different pages of the website, I achieve this by creating a form and having a hidden field in the HTML. As far as I know, this is the best and simplest way to do this. And as far as I know, there's no way to do this using Bloom. However, since I have been assisting some DIYers for a while, I want to know if there's a simpler way, or if I have to tell them that it needs to be done by someone with specific technical knowledge. Is this achievable to be done with Bloom or potentially some other kind of plugin?
Well, it depends. So let me just recap the question. The question is that you want someone to sign up on a specific landing page and then end up in a specific list. Is that right?
Yeah, to be able to trigger a specific automation sequence.
So it depends on the CRM that you're using, really. I don't think it comes down to the plugin. It comes down to the email service provider that you're using. So, for example, if we did this in Infusionsoft, each list in Infusionsoft, in fact, Infusionsoft has one list, but it has different campaigns that you can put people into. And each campaign has its own form. So I can program Bloom, for example, to, I think Bloom works on HTML forms, or the other way it may integrate with Infusionsoft is via a tag. So what I can basically do is say, when someone fills in this form on this particular page, tag them with this particular tag. That pushes that tag into Infusionsoft, and then that person's in the right campaign. If you're doing it in MailChimp, you would use one of their automations that says, and again, each list in MailChimp has its own form. So you would say, hey, if someone signs up on this page, they're effectively filling out this form, and then this form puts them into this list in MailChimp, and then they go into a particular autoresponder sequence based on that form. The other thing you could do is in MailChimp, and the reason I mentioned MailChimp is because MailChimp have marketing automation for free up to 2,500 subscribers. So MailChimp's a great place to get started when you're doing this stuff. And also it's great for DIYs if you've got clients who are DIYs, because they can use MailChimp for free up to 2,500 subscribers. And marketing automation is free. Marketing automation in MailChimp used to only be for their premium clients that were paying $199 a month. But a few months ago, they rolled it out across their free plans. So what you can do is say, if somebody lands on landing page X and they fill in this form and end up in this list, also, which is a campaign list, it might be for a specific autoresponder, then also put them into the general newsletter list so that they get my weekly newsletter at the same time. And you can program that stuff using the automations in MailChimp. Does that answer that question?
I think so, absolutely. Just want to add a little bit onto that is So MailChimp is one of the systems, I think Campaign Monitor is as well, where contacts are focused around being on lists as opposed to the whole system being focused around contacts, like ActiveCampaign and Infusionsoft are more around contacts, and you can have different tags, and that's really how you organize your different lists and where people are in the automation sequence. So something I've been experimenting with, and it seems to work quite well, is adding into one list, like trying to keep MailChimp within one list, because that helps to save a bit of money, and putting subgroups within that list. So I add, I think it's called, I put source as the name of a group, and then whatever source, so it could be, and then I name the pages or the lead magnets. How did they enter this list? I'll put in there, and then I set the automation to be triggered based on when they entered that particular group. And that's just, it's a bit of a pain because it's a bit of a workaround that you need to do for MailChimp, but most other systems you can add your form and add your tags and automate in those kind of ways. So I hope that helps. I hope that helps to sort it out for you there, Louise. Sorry, totally forgot there's a lot of questions here. I hope that helps, but yeah, let us know if you have any follow-up questions on that one, Louise, and once you get experimenting with that. Another question we have is from Jamie Hill. And he says, what's everyone standing on pop-ups for desktop only? As opposed to mobile pop-ups, and with the recent development that Google is not quoting them, but penalizing pop-ups on mobiles.
Well, let's clarify that too, because Google is penalizing pop-ups that radically degrade the user experience on mobile. Mm-hmm. So traditionally what we did is we programmed a pop-up to work beautifully on a desktop, and then you'd go to a mobile, the pop-up would trigger, say if you had a program to trigger after 7 seconds, the pop-up would display on mobile, and then you couldn't actually click the close button, and your whole user experience was degraded on mobile, and it was terrible, right? So what Google said is that's a really bad experience. But prior to Google doing that, companies like Optinmonster were already rolling out mobile-friendly pop-ups. And I mean, if you look at your analytics, what this really comes down to is, are people who are using your website accessing your website on mobile? Because if they are, then you are leaving leads and money on the table by not putting the right offer in front of them on mobile. Your job is just to make sure that that pop-up form on mobile is not degrading the mobile experience. This is true for opt-in forms. It's also true for checkouts, mobile checkouts. You can't just program a pop-up checkout form on desktop and then think that it's going to work as well on mobile. So you just need to pay attention to the user experience. And this is why Google are penalizing pop-ups that degrade the user experience, because it's a bad user experience. And we learned years ago that if you optimize for the user experience, then you're probably going to be optimizing for search engines at the same time. Because we've been doing this dance with Google for years, where we've been trying to game the system to improve our rankings, and Google's been slapping us saying, no, that's a bad user experience. Get your user experience right, and you'll eventually win the search game. So my answer to Jamie would be, yes, have different pop-ups for desktop and mobile, but don't discount pop-ups on mobile altogether, because you will just be, leaving leads on the table. Again, have a look at your analytics and see what percentage of your website visitors are actually coming from mobile.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it all comes down to that user experience, basically. Like if you think about you using your own website and there was a pop-up and you were trying to achieve something, and then this pop-up's completely blocking it, that would just annoy the hell out of you. So don't do that to your users, basically. It is a matter of testing as well. What I'm fairly certain that they're not penalizing is a pop-up that's triggered. So if you have a button and then you click the button and it pops up, that it doesn't affect the user experience, and that's totally fine to have those kind of pop-ups. It's just, it's all about the user experience. If it pops up and it stops them doing from what they were planning to do in the first place, no one wants that, so that's what they're aiming to penalize. So I think it's about just paying a bit of attention to your users and what would be a great experience for them.
Yep, exactly.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, that leads us into our core topic for today, which is pop-ups on landing pages. Mm-hmm. So what we've got, if you would like to reveal the demo curtain, Troy, and share your screen, Troy has a bit of a setup and something to show us using, I believe you're using Elementor plugin?
That is correct. So let me know if you can see my screen there.
Yep.
Perfect. Good. So Now, let's just have this conversation about plugins, right? There are a gazillion plugins for programming pop-ups on your website. That's a whole other conversation we can talk about. The reason that I'm showing this particular one is because it's a continuation of what we showed last week. So we built this landing page very quickly last week using Elementor. It's a page builder plugin for WordPress. It's super fast, really, really fast. You can build stuff really quickly. In fact, we're going to publish a YouTube video in the next few weeks that shows you how I built this landing page in Elementor in less than 15 minutes. And remember, this is a prototype of a landing page. It's not a designed product. It's just a prototype to get your client to approve the functionality. And so if you saw the video last week, you'll see that we built the landing page in Elementor. And let's say the client said, okay, that's great, but now what happens when we click this button? And last week we didn't have anything programmed, so you click that button and nothing happens. Now, this is what I'm going to show you here is what's called a two-step opt-in. And the reason, see, in the past, what we would do is we would have a video or an image here, we'd have a headline here and a paragraph, and then we'd have a form here. And what would happen is, as those kind of traditional opt-in pages became more popular, people would visit the landing page, they'd see a form straight away, and they'd bounce because they knew that you were just trying to capture their name and email address, and people were, kind of fed up with email inboxes blowing up with subscriptions. So people stopped filling in the form and conversion rates started to plummet. So then some smart marketer came up with this idea of a two-step opt-in. And the idea is that you hide the form and you basically say, hey, if you want this, click this button. And then when someone clicks the button, a pop-up appears with the form, which I'll show you in a moment. And what that does is it increases conversion rates because they've already made a commitment. So it's called a micro commitment. They click the button. That's a micro commitment that, yes, I'm interested in the offer. Then they're more likely to fill in the form that appears in the pop-up. And conversion rates started to go back up. So conversion rates in our business, when we had the form here on the page, were kind of hovering around the 20% and slipping below 20%. Now that we're using these two-step opt-in forms and these two-step landing pages, our conversion rates are back up anywhere from 40 to 65%, depending on the offer. So what happens in this particular case, this two-step pop-up is they click the call to action button and then the pop-up appears. And again, this is not designed at all. It's just a proof of concept. It just says download the white paper or, whatever it is you're giving away. They enter their name, their email address, they click on the button, and then they're redirected to a thank you page with instructions on how they can actually download the white paper, which usually says, hey, check your email for more details. Now, the plugin I'm using here is called Popbox for Elementor. Elementor Page Builder out of the box actually comes with a forms element that you can drag and drop onto the page. Popbox for Elementor just enables you to trigger let me just have a look here. Here we go. So what happens is when you install Popbox for Elementor, you can literally grab this Popbox here and drag it onto the page, which I've done here. And then in the Popbox inspector here, properties inspector, you just say, hey, what kind of trigger is it? Is it a button? You can have different types of buttons, so an info button or a success button or a warning button. I've just got a default button here. The text is call to action, so I could change this to, download white paper. I can spell. The size is, small, medium, large, whatever. I can change the size of the button here. I'm going to leave it as medium. You can select an icon. You can change the typography. And then what you do here is in the modal content, you say, what do I want to appear when I click that button? And I've just selected Popbox here, which is the only pop-up that I've programmed in the Popbox plugin. So in the admin dashboard for WordPress, you can program as many pop-ups as you like, and then you just choose what the trigger is on the front end and what you want to appear when someone clicks that button. So now I'm just going to click on update. We'll go back to the landing page here. We'll close that. We'll do a refresh. That button, hopefully, if the interwebs works, says download white paper. I click on that, and then it says, hey, download the white paper. So now there's a bit of consistency between the micro commitment here and the offer that's in the pop-up. Now, if I was going to move forward with this pop-up, I would have a message here that says, something like almost there, and maybe one of those progress bars that shows that you're, 50% way through the commitment. Download the white paper, or, tell us where to send the white paper. name, email, and then the button, download the white paper, which would be the same text as this. And then you just connect this to whichever CRM or email service provider you're using. Now, Elementor has a MailChimp integration natively built in, but if you're not using MailChimp, you can use Zapier to push these details into whichever CRM you're using. So that it very quickly is a very quick proof of concept as to how you can, again, show your client, hey, when they click the button, this appears. It's called a two-step opt-in. It will increase conversions because they've made a micro commitment here by clicking the button, and then they're more likely to fill in here. And you can put whatever you want in this pop-up because you basically design this pop-up using the Elementor page builder. So any of these elements that you have in the element library here, you can literally drag and drop into the pop-up, so you can make this pop-up as snazzy as you like. So I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, 100%. That's awesome. That looks super easy. I've used Elementor quite a bit for various things, but I haven't actually put together a pop-up box like that before.
It's very cool. And you know, Opt-in Monster and Bloom and all those products, they have all these amazing templates built in and all these great libraries built in. The reason I like Popbox for Elementor is because sometimes over the years I've found that if you put a bunch of templates in front of me or in front of someone, the conversation very quickly becomes which template to use. Whereas let's start with a blank canvas. Let's get the right elements on the page to maximize our conversions. And then let's design the user experience and the user interface around the existing brand that we're working with. So the more sophisticated, I think, and the more mature I become as a digital strategist, the less I'm using templates, because templates, I think, are just a very easy way of, you know, getting a minimum viable product up. But I think ultimately they're very confusing, and they actually change the conversation from how do we increase conversions to which template is the sexiest and which template should we use. And it's been said before that templates are basically porn for web designers, and they are. You kind of scroll through templates and it's just like you're getting this massive dopamine hit because there's all these amazing, beautiful templates, but that's not the right conversation. And I don't want to then have to try and shove my client's offer into a pre-existing template. I want to get the offer right first and then skin it based on the brand guidelines that we're working with.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the conversation does start to become like, oh, I don't like those colors, or I don't like that font, or that background's no good. Why'd you use a gradient? Instead of what you should be talking about, which is what about the headline? What's the actual offer? How can we get the words to be persuasive the way that we want to and describe the offer correctly? So that's what you want to be talking about, because what will usually happen is you'll go full circle anyway. You'll try to cut a corner by putting in a template, and then your client will give you some feedback and they'll be talking about fonts and colors, and then you'll have to circle all the way back to the start again and go through this process from the beginning. So start with something. The blank canvas idea is great. It's a good way to do it.
Yep. Hey, just want to answer a question that Colleen's got here in Facebook. She's watching live. She says, good to know. I spent 2 to 3 weeks talking to the developers of Download Monitor and Ninja Forms to try to get pop-ups to work for multiple downloads using the same form on the same page. I wonder if this would work using Popbox for Elementor. Well, what you could do is program a different Popbox, Colleen, for each download, and then just have a text link or a button trigger that pop-up on the page. And so you could effectively trigger multiple pop-ups for different downloads using the same designed form, but they would all be linked. They would all be different pop-ups, different pop boxes, and they would link into MailChimp or Zapier or however you want to link them in, so that when someone clicks that button or that text, the right pop-up appears, they opt in for the thing that you've promised them, and then they go into the right list or the right segment of your database, and they get the right thing that they've opted in for. So in theory, that would work. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool.
Cool.
Awesome.
And also, I just want to touch on this thing. I know a lot of people hate pop-ups, right? But here's the thing about pop-ups. First of all, they work. We've built a very, very, very successful business in video user manuals and WP Elevation purely on the back of pop-ups. And we have an email list now of over 70,000 in Infusionsoft, which have all come from pop-ups, right? Whether it's webinar registrations, whether it's downloading a plugin, whether it's a $1 trial, whatever it is, they're all pop-ups. And the pop-ups are excellent if the offer is right. So it's all about putting the right offer in front of the right person at the right time. Pop-ups are only annoying if it's interrupting my experience and putting something that I'm not interested in front of me. Okay, so don't dismiss pop-ups because they might be a bad experience. Think about why they're a bad experience, and it's usually because they're interrupting your experience and putting an irrelevant offer in front of you that you're not interested in. So pop-ups work. They help you grow your business. They're great for non-profits. They're great for charities. They're great for small business. They're great for e-commerce. They're great for info marketers. They're great for all types of business. It's all about getting the right offer to the right person at the right time.
Yep, absolutely. And just coming back to what you're saying about micro commitments, that's just how pop-ups help to make things that are going to happen anyway, like signing up for a form. It's just to help them work a bit better. So just helping to get someone to take the action that they were going to take anyway, but it's
Correct.
just making it a little bit less intrusive.
Yeah,
One of those intrusives.
intrusive. And you know, like the great example of a really slick pop-up is if you go and have a look at the Stripe website and go and have a look at their checkout product. They've got this checkout product, which if you go to dribbble.com and subscribe to Dribbble, you know, it's a tiny little pop-up. All it is email address, credit card, and expiry date. It's a beautiful user experience. It's very fast, bang, done. I mean, I've got my subscription. Gumroad do a similar thing when they sell digital products. So that's an example of how a pop-up works really well. So don't be afraid of the pop-up, kids.
Yeah, absolutely. If done right, they work awesome, and it's a great user experience. So definitely worth experimenting with. Cool. Yeah, that was awesome, Troy. That's
Cool.
Yeah, that's such a great way to build from absolutely nothing to create that minimum viable product to explain to clients or just mock up something nice and fast that you can send over to a designer. Very cool. So with that brings us to our tool of the week, which I guess would be Elementor or Elementor pop-up box for our tool of the week this week.
Pop box for Elementor. I'm going to stick the link to that in the Facebook comments right now. Pop box for Elementor is the tool of the week there. I mean, Elementor is fantastic. Pop box for Elementor is the add-on there.
Just with that, is your version of Elementor that you're using the premium one? Can you do this with the free that you know of?
That's a very good question. I believe, well, the pop box is free. The forms widget, the forms element, I believe, let me just check this out. I'm just having a look at their website right now. The forms element in Elementor is, I think, I've got a feeling it's part of their Pro. So it is part of the Pro Elementor Pro version.
If you're using some other kind of form, like Gravity Forms or something, I think you can just embed that into the pop-up anyway.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you could.
You can because that's right. You can just embed a widget. You can just embed a WordPress widget.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Absolutely. Cool. Cool. All right. Well, Ray, do you reckon we have a short amount of time to get to my screen? Are we able to? I'm not on. All right, we can't do that then. All good. Let's just pretend that never happened. Edit that out. Cool. All right, awesome. Well, yeah, cheers heaps for joining us. Troy from Sydney, what have you got on for the rest of the day?
I am strategizing and brainstorming and masterminding with my business partner, Brian, and trying to just make sure that we're all on the same page for 2018 and to set ourselves some fairly ambitious goals for this year.
Yeah, I love it. That's awesome. When will we see you back? Will we see you back for next episode?
Yep, I'm back on Friday, so I'll be back in the studio next week.
All right, cool, man. Sounds good. All right, awesome. Well, enjoy the rest of the trip. For everyone else who's watching at home, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, and you can hit the little bell icon, and you'll be notified when there's new videos that come out. In Facebook as well, there's a notification when we go live. So make sure you join the WP Elevation page, and make sure you subscribe to our notifications as well. Please let us know in the comments. Share this with someone that you think might take some value from this. Let us know in the comments what you would like to learn next. Like, we're basically trying to base this show around what we think will be valuable. So we'd love to hear from you and create something that you think would be useful for your WordPress consulting business. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Simon Kelly.
I'm Troy Dean.
And that was Beavis and Butthead. Go Elevate.